Hi guys, today's Thursday. You might notice that I'm wearing the same shirt that I was wearing yesterday. And I can tell you that's because I've given up. I don't care anymore about my clothes. I've been wearing sweatpants every day. It's kind of awesome. Just so you know, I still shower, so no need to worry there. Today I'm joined by Linus. He is here on my lap, and he's gonna help us read. So we're starting on 107. We're doing 107 to 112. So yesterday when we read, what was going on? So Ellie and his dad had been on the train. And remember, like, the people were throwing the bread in, and like people were fighting over it and killing each other. Their friend, who had been like stronger than everyone else, died and didn't make it off the train. And he talked about how like 100 prisoners started on the train and only 12 survived the trip, including he and his dad. And then they arrived there at Buchenwald, which we do need to put on our map. I won't forget. I'll at least show it to you on the map. And then his dad like wanted to lay down and didn't want to take the shower or whatever, and he was like telling him, "You're gonna die if you just go lay down in the snow." And then there was alert. They all went inside, and then he found his dad and like gave him some coffee. But he was like thinking, maybe he'd be better off without his dad, and he felt really guilty, like forever basically. So we're gonna start right there at the page break on 107, if you're following along on the PDF, to 112. Listen for the purring. Every day, my father was getting weaker. His eyes were watery, his face the color of dead leaves. On the third day, after we arrived in Buchenwald, everybody had to go to the showers, even the sick, who were instructed to go last. When we returned from the showers, we had to wait outside a long time. The cleaning of the blocks had not been completed. From afar, I saw my father and ran to meet him. He went by me like a shadow, passing me without stopping, without a glance. I called to him. He did not turn around. I ran after him. "Father, where are you running?" He looked at me for a moment, and his gaze was distant, otherworldly, the face of a stranger. Lasted only a moment, and then he ran away. Suffering from dysentery, my father was prostrate on his cot, with another 5 sick inmates nearby. I sat next to him, watching him. I no longer dared to believe that he could still elude death. I did all I could to give him hope. All of a sudden he sat up and placed his feverish lips against my ear. "Eliezer, I must tell you where I buried the gold and silver. In the cellar, And he began talking, faster and faster, afraid of running out of time before he could tell me everything. I tried to tell him that it was not over yet, that we would be going home together, but he no longer wanted to listen to me. He could no longer listen to me. He was worn out. Saliva mixed with blood was trickling from his lips. He had closed his eyes. He was gasping more than breathing. For a ration of bread, I was able to exchange cots to be next to my father. When the doctor arrived in the afternoon, I went to tell him that my father was very ill. "Bring him here." I explained that he could not stand up, but the doctor would not listen, and so with great difficulty I brought my father to him. He stared at him, then asked curtly, "What do you want?" "My father is sick," I answered in this place. "Dysentery." "That's not my business. I'm a surgeon. Go on. Make room for the others." My protests were in vain. "I can't go on, my son. Take me back to my bunk." I took him back and helped him lie down. He was shivering. "Try to get some sleep, father. Try to fall asleep." His breathing was labored. His eyes were closed, but I was convinced that he was seeing everything, that he was seeing the truth in all things. Another doctor came to the block. My father refused to get up. He knew that it would be of no use. In fact, that doctor had only come to finish off the patients. I listened to him shouting at them that they were lazy, good-for-nothings who only wanted to stay in bed. I considered jumping him, strangling him, but I had neither the courage nor the strength. I was riveted to my father's agony. My hands were aching. I was clenching them so hard. To strangle the doctor and the others, to set the whole world on fire, my father's murderers, but even the cry stuck in my throat. On my return from the bread distribution, I found my father crying like a child. My son there beating me. Who? I thought he was delirious. Him, the Frenchman, and the Pole, they beat me. One more stab to the heart, one more reason to hate, one less reason to live. Eliezer, tell them not to beat me. I haven't done anything. Why are they beating me? I began to insult his neighbors. They mocked me. I promised them bread, soup. They laughed. Then they got angry. They could not stand my father any longer, they said, because he no longer was able to drag himself outside to relieve himself. The following day, he complained that they had taken his ration of bread. While you were asleep? No, I wasn't asleep. They threw themselves on me. They snatched it from me, my bread, and they beat me again. I can't go on, my son. Give me some water. I knew that he must not drink, but he pleaded with me so long that I gave in. Water was the worst poison for him, but what else could I do for him? With or without water, it would be over soon anyway. You at least have pity on me. Have pity on him, I, his only son. A week went by like that. Is this your father? Asked the Blockle test. Yes. He is very sick. The doctor won't do anything for him. He looked me straight in the eye. The doctor cannot do anything more for him, and neither can you. He placed his big, hairy hand on my shoulder and added, listen to me, kid. Don't forget that you are in a concentration camp. In this place, it is every man for himself, and you cannot think of others, not even your father. In this place, there is no such thing as father, brother, friend. Each of us lives and dies alone. Let me give you good advice. Stop giving your ration of bread and soup to your old father. You cannot help him anymore, and you are hurting yourself. In fact, you should be getting his rations. I listened to him without interrupting. He was right, I thought deep down, not daring to admit it to myself. Too late to save your old father. You could have 2 rations of bread, 2 rations of soup. It was only a fraction of a second, but it left me feeling guilty. I ran to get some soup and brought it to my father, but he did not want it. All he wanted was water. Don't drink water, eat the soup. I'm burning up. Why are you so mean to me, my son? Water. I brought him water. Then I left the block for roll call, but I quickly turned back. I lay down on the upper bunk. The sick were allowed to stay in the block, so I would be sick. I didn't want to leave my father. All around me there was silence now, broken only by moaning. In front of the block, the SS were giving orders. An officer passed between the bunks. My father was pleading. My son, water. I'm burning up, my insides. Silence over there, barked the officer. Eliezer, continued my father. Water. The officer came closer and shouted to him to be silent, but my father did not hear. He continued to call me. The officer wielded his club and dealt him a violent blow to the head. I didn't move. I was afraid. My body was afraid of another blow, this time to my head. My father groaned once more. I heard, Eliezer. I could see that he was still breathing, and gasped. I didn't move. When I came down from my bunk after roll call, I could see his lips trembling. He was murmuring something. I remained more than an hour, leaning over him, looking at him, etching his bloody, broken face into my mind. Then I had to go to sleep. I climbed into my bunk above my father, who was still alive. The date was January 28th, 1945. I woke up at dawn on January 29th. On my father's cot, there lay another sick person. They must have taken him away before daybreak and taken him to the crematorium. Perhaps he was still breathing. No prayers were said over his tomb, no candle lit in his memory. His last word had been my name. He had called out to me, and I had not answered. I did not weep, and it pained me that I could not weep, but I was out of tears. And deep inside me, if I could have searched the recesses of my feeble conscience, I might have found something like free at last. That's it for today. We'll finish the book tomorrow. Miss you guys. See ya.